Welcome to another episode of the For the Love of Cricket podcast with Jimana Kim. Today we'll be doing a weekend roundup of games where Australia played Bangladesh, England played Pakistan, and India played the Netherlands. Um, Bangladesh finally made some runs against Australia. They finally made some runs in the tournament. They got to 306 for 7 from their allotment of 50 overs, but Australia got there easily in the end, losing only 2 wickets. Massive century by Mitchell Marsh getting 177 not out. Steve Smith also got a score of 63. What's your take on that game?
I think it was very important for Steve Smith to get a score going into the semi-finals. He's a very important player for the Aussies. We've seen Travis Head, David Warner and Mitchell Marsh show form in the tournament, but you'd like to think that he is one of the key players who has been probably underperforming a bit, who they would have wanted to see get some runs. It's also notable that they experimented with a lot of bowlers in their innings to Bangladesh. They're probably looking for the fifth, sixth and seventh bowlers that they could use in the semi-finals and the finals if they got there. Mitch Marsh travelled. He was very expensive. But I found that the games this weekend were a bit experimental for a number of the teams. It was experimental for Australia, it was experimental for India, and then Pakistan themselves are an experiment.
I can see why Australia would be looking to experiment. They went in the game without Mitchell Stark, they gave him a rest. They gave Sean Abbott a go, he did pretty well for himself. He got 2 wickets and went for 61 runs. A point for concern though. I think Mitchell Stark will come back in the semi-final, yes. But he's averaging 44 in this World Cup, and Pat Cummins also averages 43. Josh Hazelwood has been better than both of them, but I don't think he has been at his best, given he's the number 1 bowler in the world. He averages 30, and all of the pressure to take wickets has been on Zampa. He has been living up to that expectation. He has been doing very well. He's now got 22 wickets from the 9 games. Averages 18, but his economy rate is also on the higher side as well. He's going for about 5 and over. What do you think they could do differently in the semi-finals? What if Zampa struggles to take wickets?
I think if Zampa struggles, it will be different. It will be very difficult for them. We've seen how they've gone in the tournament. They haven't necessarily taken a lot of wickets inside the power play. Generally, their seamers come back in the middle overs and towards the end to get wickets. A number of times, Mitchell Stark has taken his first wicket back in the latter part of the innings after 30-35 overs. That's when he comes back and gets wickets. Adam Zampa has been carrying the mantle for them. I think inside the power play they could probably start with Cummins instead of Hazelwood. It would be difficult to see how they go about things, but ideally they want to take a wicket or 2 inside the power play to make the burden a bit lighter for Adam Zampa to carry. He's been doing very well in the tournament, but we must also remember that in the first 2 or 3 games he struggled, and his struggles resulted in the team struggling as well. They went for a good number of runs, and then they struggled in their batting efforts. So it is an area for concern for them, especially Mitchell Stark's form, because he is usually the leader of the attack for them in 50 over cricket, in white ball cricket especially. So a question mark there for Australia for sure.
You mentioned Cummins opening the bowling. He did so in the game on the weekend. Sean Abbott was the first change bowler. Cummins went at 8 and over in the power play. So Josh Hazelwood was economical as usual. His 7 went for 21 runs, but he got no wickets. For Bangladesh though, Hriday did well. He's a young player that they brought in as quite an experience, to build experience going forward. He got 74 today. Bangladesh, as I said, got 306, but I think they were a 60-run shot. They ran themselves out of the game literally. They had 2 runouts. They got Mamadou was run out. When Mamadou came to the crease, his first scoring shot was a 6. He hit 4 sixes in his knock of 30 off just about 24 balls, and then his wicket, his run out, halted the Bangladesh scoring on a pitch that was very flat. The first ball, Hazelwood Bowl commentator said, well, this should be a high scoring game. When Cummins came on from the next end, they expected the ball to swing in nothing, straight in the back middle. And you could just know from those 2 deliveries, first deliveries from each of the bowlers from either end, that it should have been a high scoring pitch. Yes, Bangladesh got 300, but I thought 350 would have been more challenging to the Australians. Another weird quirk today, Rahman was the 5th bowler used by Bangladesh, that is Mustafizur. And he did not look threatening at all, as he couldn't get the ball to swing. It was a newish ball, he was just coming onto the button. And Mitchell Marsh took a liking to him, hitting him for 3 sixes back over his head. You have any other thoughts on?
Mitchell Marsh hasn't been as prolific at number 3 as he has been opening in the tournament. It is something that we've discussed before. In this game, he got the opportunity to go out and bat fairly early because Travis Head got out fairly early. That gave him the opportunity to bat inside the power play and probably get his momentum going, get some boundaries through the field, and he really poured on in his knock. His knock was 177 off 132 balls, 17 fours and 9 sixes. If you know Mitch Marsh, you know how dominant of a batter he is when he gets set, especially to the spinners. You almost feel as if the pitch isn't wide enough to bowl to him. He is a massive unit, tall, strong, built like an ox. I think his nickname is Bison. I think they call him Bison, and you know the animal, the bison. He is huge. He is a serious player when he is on the go, and he really took the game to the Bangladeshi bowlers in a very commanding knock. It all bodes well for Australia. It shows that the top 3 or 4 batters now are in some form. The top 3 all have centuries, and Steve Smith probably has 3 or 4 half centuries in the tournament now. I think he has 3. So it all bodes well for them going into their clash against South Africa.
The second game of the weekend was England versus Pakistan. England won the toss and broke the Pakistanis' heart by batting first. They finally looked like the England we expected to see in this tournament. They made 337 for 9 from their 50 overs, restricting Pakistan to 244 in the end. Your thoughts on that game?
Personally, I think that Pakistan lost that game and they were mentally checked out when they lost the toss and England decided to bat. That is just my personal feeling. The only hopes that they would have had to advance to the semi-final was if they won the toss, batted first and posted a huge score and then beat the English by 287 runs. They looked deflated, and they looked very deflated from they went out to bowl. Harris Rouse's first ball, I think, of his spell was almost on the other pitch down the leg side. He looked like he was just checked out of the game. He has been severely under par in this tournament. He has conceded the most runs for a bowler in the history of World Cups in all 48 years. In the 48-year span that the World Cup has been taking place, I think he's also conceded the most sixes in World Cup history, and he has played less games in this tournament than some of the bowlers because he hasn't played all of Pakistan's games. He has been very poor for them. He's been very poor inside the power play and very poor with the new ball. He generally does well when he does fairly better, I should say, when he comes back towards the middle and at the death. But his first ball really summed up Pakistan's tournament.
So you mentioned Harris Rauf Harris Ralph going for the most runs of any bowler in any of the World Cup tournaments. He's gone for 540 runs this tournament. At an average of 140.
That's 140 runs per wicket. He concedes on average 140 runs before he takes a wicket. And based on his economy rate, that would say that he takes a wicket every 2 games. Pretty much, every 2 games.
But that 140 though is really just for the power plays. I was just exaggerating. So his power play average is 140, but he in his entire spells in these games, he's conceded the most runs combined out of all the World Cup tournaments. England finally got an opening partnership. They got to 70 and without loss, and then Malan went playing a reverse sweep and being caught behind. Bairstow got to 50 and out, finally getting a half century.
Johnny Bairstow with runs, a rarity in this tournament.
Ben Stokes got 80 odd. He looked fluent. He was dropped and knocked by Shaheen Bolancard. Some would say it's difficult. It's to his left side, it's his stronger side. Joe Root.
Yeah, Joe Root also got a score. He got a score of 60. Probably a return to form, you would say, for him. He's been one of the better batters in the tournament. He started well, faded in the middle, and then finished strongly here at the end.
And then the lower order, by the time they came in, they were only about 4 or 5 overs left, so they just pushed the score to 337. At the end of the 40th over, England were 240. They played what we thought would have been always their perfect batting game. They went hard at the top, pushed in the middle, and finished well, almost scoring a 10 over in the death. You mentioned Pakistan bowling was hard. Let's look at Pakistan's batting. My highlight of Pakistan's batting innings was Shadab Khan dismissal as a leg spinner. Ali Rashid bowled a googly to him. Now, I'm sure some of you viewers would have played cricket at some level. Shadab Khan does not, Ali Rashid does not bowl that slowly again. But his googly is notably slow. He bowled a ball wide outside the half stump on a full length, and it was slow. And Shadab Khan tried to cover drive the ball as if it was a leg spinner. Spun right through his gate and bowled it. What do you think of that?
I think it's a very disappointing way to get out, especially with Shadab Khan being a leg spinner himself. When he is unsung and bowling well, he bowls a fairly good googly as well. He should understand the art of leg spin bowling. He should understand the tricks of the trade, and he should also be batting with a bit more caution and pay a bit more attention to a leg spinner whenever a leg spinner is bowling to him, because personally you would feel as if somebody who does the same art as you, they should not get you out. His dismissal for me pretty much summed up his tournament. He has been woeful. He's been disappointing for Pakistan. He has underperformed with both the ball and the bat. He's probably been better with the bat, for them, to be honest, but it has been nothing to write home about. He is somebody that should have had a very strong tournament at this World Cup for Pakistan, and that dismissal really much summed up some of the brainless cricket that Pakistan has played in this tournament.
Pakistan had a few batters getting starts. Babar got 38, Rizwan got 36, Shakil got 29, and they gave Salman a World Cup debut, and he got 50 and got out immediately after. There was some entertainment at the end of their innings with Haris Rauf and Mohamed Wasim. Haris Rauf finally inflicting some of the pains he's felt this World Cup. He hit about 3 sixes, yeah. He hit 3 sixes and 3 fours in a cameo 35 at the end. Another key, another highlight in this game was it was David Willey's last international game. He needed 3 wickets to get to 100 and he got them. Your thoughts on the English bowling?
I think England bowled well in the innings. I think Pakistan probably played some rash shots. Not probably, they definitely played some rash shots. I think David Willey got them off to a fairly good start. He struck pretty early, removing Abdullah Shafiq, who he's one of the few Pakistani players that can leave this tournament with his head held high. I think he came in after the first game after Fakhar Zaman was dropped, and he had a fairly good World Cup. He scored a century and 3 half centuries, I believe. I had a fairly good tournament. Babar Azam was disappointing for me. Mohamed Rizwan was also a bit disappointing towards the last. But the English bowling, David Willey was good in his final game. Chris Wokes also went below 5 and over. He has really stepped up since he returned to the team for the last 3 or 4 games. He bowled much better after coming back into the team. Moeen Ali with wickets. I was personally entertained with his dismissal of Mohamed Rizwan. He beat him in the flight. He came down, took a wild swing at the ball. He missed, got out bowled, and then got cramps and fell to the ground in a very embarrassing manner, I must say. That is also a dismissal that could sum up Pakistan's tournament. But Moeen Ali bowled with flight and guile in this game, and so I expected him to probably go in the tournament. That didn't materialize, but in his last 2 games he took 5 wickets, I believe. So that is a decent end to what I think is probably will be his last one-day international game. Adil Rashid was decent, probably slightly expensive considering how the game was going, but he bowled Shadab Khan with a beauty. Gus Atkinson didn't play much in the tournament, but he came in here and took 2 wickets. We probably remember him from his heroics with a bat a couple of games ago against South Africa. Not so much heroics, but entertainment, because he and Mark would really put on a show in the trouncing that they received from South Africa. So the English bowlers, or the English team in general, I think probably got it right in this game, and this might be the best game they've played in the tournament.
I think Pakistan's batting performed to expectation or slightly exceeded expectations as a unit. The issue was really 2 of the fast bowlers that they had who started the tournament. We mentioned Harris Rauf going for 540 runs across all the games he has played, and his average in the power play being 140. Hassan Ali as well has been under par. He got 4 wickets in the first game and then has been missing since then. Since 1999, he's had the highest economy rate of all bowlers inside World Cup power plays. He's going at 6.5 and over. Having those 2 guys in one team together, bowling inside the power play together, can't be good. And Shaheen Afridi has struggled to get wickets in this power play as well, because in this World Cup inside the power play as well, because the ball hasn't swung. I think that is where they lost. They were probably the 2nd best power play bowling team in the last World Cup, and this time they struggled to get people out. As a result, I think that put extra pressure on the spinners that they had, and they, outside of Shadab Khan, they had 2 inexperienced spinners basically, and one of them was basically a part-timer in Iftikhar. So I think it's really their bowling that let them down this time around, and that is something you hardly say about Pakistan. It's generally the batting. They always come with a good 5 bowlers. Pakistan hardly ever uses part-timers, and in this World Cup they had to be using a part-time off-spinner inside the power play. Those overs would generally have been filled by somebody like Mohamed Hafiz or Shoaib Malik. So tough luck on them. They have exited the tournament. The third game on the weekend was India steamrolling Netherlands. They continued their dominant performance. 9 straight wins in this World Cup. India batted first, got 410 for 4. Netherlands getting only 250. What are your views on that game?
I think India really showed their class in this game. It was a game between probably the haves and the have-nots of world cricket, if you would like to put it that way. India blessed with so much talent, so much resources, and the top 5 really showed their class in this game. All of them got scores past 50. They had 2 players scoring centuries. Personally, I'm very happy that Shreyas Iyer got a century. I think he has been very good for them in the tournament. He has probably been the 3rd best batter after Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. He has really stepped up and been consistent for them in that number 4 position. It's a position that had a few question marks coming into the tournament. We weren't too sure of who would bat there and how they would go. A lot has been made of Shreyas Iyer's weaknesses to the short ball, but he has seemed to be very adept at playing it in the tournament thus far. We don't know how it will go in the pressure games, but he has been very good. He's been consistent. He has batted at a good tempo, I feel. He has played in games where they lost early wickets and he needed to consolidate, and then he's played in games like this one where he has been allowed to play at his free-flowing best. So I think he has been very good. KL Rahul scored 98, I think, earlier in the tournament, in the first game. Barely missed out on 100 in a game in which I think he played a very good innings. He's a class player. It was good to see him get a century here and get some runs under his belt. It's also good to see Shubman Gill get a half century. He came into the team after about the 3rd or 4th game suffering from dengue, and he's gotten 2 half centuries, I think. He hasn't gotten the big century that he would have probably wanted, or his form coming into the World Cup would have indicated, but this is a good knock for his confidence, and it's good for Team India that they have all these batters firing and scoring runs at one time.
Netherlands struggled to contain the Indians. Logan Van Beek made a century with the ball. Do you think there's anything they could have done to restrict the Indians to under 400?
I think it was a fairly difficult situation for them. It was a game that, as I said, it really showed the class between the 2 teams. What do you make of their fielding effort?
They fielded well. They were brilliant in the field. You saw the catch that Nida Manuru take.
Yeah.
To get rid of Shubman Gill.
It was a very good catch.
On the square leg boundary. It was a catch that most other players would have jumped, taken the catch, threw it back in, go over the rope and come up, but he just went straight up, landed on one foot, kept his balance, and then completed the catch very, very easily in the end. I personally don't think they have the talent to have restricted India to anything less than 370.
Especially in these conditions.
They were slaughtered in the death. K. Rahul made his century of 62 balls. Netherlands got 250, as I mentioned. It was a bit refreshing to see their top order finally getting runs as a unit in a game. It's generally the lower middle order that gets runs for them, or they have one top order batter scoring and then the lower order getting the runs. Nadi Manuru got 50. He got 50 in the previous game. No, it was the game before the last one. He started the tournament pretty poorly. He wasn't among their top performers. It's good to see him ending on a high. He was very crucial to them getting through the World Cup qualifiers. He was basically their main player coming into the World Cup, and it, across the last World Cup cycle. Indians bowling was pretty dominant again. Rohit Sharma getting some overs under wicket, Virat Kohli getting some overs under wicket. Shubman Gill also bowled, he got no wickets. Jasprit Bumrah was brilliant as usual, he went at under 4 and over again. And it was just a complete bowling performance from India. You have anything else to add?
I think looking at this game, looking at the Indian bowling performance, what will stand out to teams is that India really doesn't have a 6 bowler. I don't know what it will take for them to force India into bowling a 6 bowler. I doubt it will even happen because everybody in the attack is so suited to the conditions and they've been performing fairly well that a 6 bowler will almost never be needed. But if there is probably one chink in that team's armor, it's the lack of a 6 bowler. I haven't seen Rohit Sharma bowl a ball for almost 10 years in international cricket. I think Virat Kohli's doublers are a joke. Surya Kumar Yadav was really throwing the ball over the moon, and I don't know what Shubman Gill was doing, to be honest. So they really lack a 6 bowler. That being said, they're such a good unit. They're so good with the bat, they're so good with the ball, and they're also so dominant in the field. I think Ravindra Jadeja bowled that peach his very first ball, and he looks so good and looks unsung. I think he will be the key man in that game against New Zealand. His 10 overs, I think, will be the overs that stifle New Zealand and probably turn tide in the favor of India. But that being said, such a strong unit, and they look like the favorites for winning this tournament.
I think the only way of penetrating this Indian bowling attack is if someone gets injured.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any batsmen in this tournament that can get on top of the entire bowling unit to the point where they will need a 6 bowler. If a bowler comes under pressure, he has enough backup and support to get rid of that player, and then that whatever bowler is weak on that day can come back and complete his quota of overs. So it will be very difficult. You have anything else to add?
No, that's all from me.
Alright, thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.